A special edition of Agenda where breaking news is coming in of the government not just withdrawing their ordinance on criminal netas but also deciding to withdraw the bill in Parliament. That's a major win for many across the country who've been demanding a move against protection of criminal lawmakers. But the question we raise tonight is whether now all is well or whether this has left some lingering problems. Our studio audience will be asking questions. They have lots of questions about how it's going to play out, what it means for the UPA, and whether Gen Next is now taken over, led by Rahul Gandhi. But first, let's just hear how the government turned around on this contentious ordinance.
The Union Cabinet today met at 18 hours in the evening, and it was unanimously, and I underscore the word unanimously, decided that both the ordinance with regard to certain sections of the Representation of People's Act as well as the bill would be withdrawn.
So the government saying that they've given in, they're not authoritarian, they've given in to what the people were saying. Let's go across to Sunil. Prabhu, Sunil, but in the cabinet, people like Sharad Pawar raising some major issues with the way it was done.
Yes, I think he raised the point about the lack of application of mind. The fact that the government went ahead with this decision in a hurry. This was a decision which everybody had agreed. Mr. Kamal Nath himself, while endorsing the decision, saying that all political parties, not once but twice, had agreed for bringing in this legislation. So that was the reason for this outcome. Nevertheless, it was an occasion for an important ally who has been an ally since 2004, Mr. Sharad Pawar, to really caution the government about the haste and the hurry in which they went about this process. Yes, it is a collective decision, but I think much more thought needs to be given to it. And then, of course, the other point, which is extremely important, saying that there are other issues which are exercising the political mind, especially the decision or recent decision of the Supreme Court on the right to reject. So all these things will have to be taken in the background.
How did they respond, Sunil, to questions of whether the Prime Minister has been undermined by this, the way it's been taken back?
Well, I think the Prime Minister himself being extremely democratic today. He heard Rahul Gandhi, he listened to the core group, and then of course met the President, and then of course met the Attorney General of this country. This is all, after all, an 82-year-old man coming back from the United States of America, and then of course holding this cabinet meeting, listening to each and every single cabinet minister. Not one minister can say that he was not asked his opinion, and all of them unanimously endorsed. Surprisingly, Sunetra,
yes,
not one of them raised the issue about Rahul Gandhi. Not one of them commented about Rahul Gandhi and his outbursts. That, it seems, is a forgotten chapter right now.
Right.
It was a cabinet decision to withdraw the bill, as well as to tell the President that the Union Cabinet had decided to withdraw the ordinance and save the party, the government, and the people at large an embarrassment. And so, and of course, the President, and basically trying to be on the right side of the fence, especially in election year, and not with convicted MPs or MLAs.
Sunil Prabhu, they're raising some really interesting points, a very interesting point about how Rahul Gandhi didn't figure it all in the cabinet. Thanks very much for those details. Let's get you those reactions now. Our pundits are joining us. From the BJP, we have Captain Abhimanyu. From our party, we have Mayank Gandhi. We should have Renuka Chaudhary from the Congress joining us in just a bit. First of all, Captain Abhimanyu, you wanted the ordinance withdrawn. That's happened. Why is it that we still hear your colleagues like Ravi Shankar Prasad talk about problems, things like dynasty? You think that those are lingering issues now?
Yes, Sunetra, though we welcome the withdrawal of the ordinance as well as the bill that has been that's pending in the Parliament. But this whole episode of the attempt to promulgate this ordinance as well as the withdrawal of this ordinance has actually raised so many issues about the democracy, the functioning of the parliamentary form of democracy of this country, that how, in what despicable manner the entire government, the entire Congress party, the entire cabinet, the entire parliament has been subjugated to the whims and fancies,
yes,
the dramatics and antics of a political novice who is the vice president of Congress party.
Right.
In the manner that he behaved, he talked about the prime minister, he talked about the entire cabinet as if it is him who only understands the mood of the people, and the entire cabinet could not really understand that. And he ended up influencing the decision of the entire cabinet, the entire coalition. So it proves that for the last 9.5 years, if the government had been functioning in a manner which actually we saw so much of corruption, so much of misgovernance, then he also must assume and take the responsibility for all the corruption and sins and wrongs of that government.
Okay,
So
Mayank Gandhi, if I can move to you, our party was one of the first ones that went to the president with the representation. So, according to you, a happy ending?
I wanted to say three things. One is quite happy that the ordinance and the bill is out. The other point I wanted to make is that there was this dichotomy, there was this confusion. Are we a democracy with an elected prime minister and a cabinet, or are we a monarchy with a queen and a prince? And suddenly when the prime minister came and went on his knees to the prince, we realized that this is a monarchy, it's not a democracy at all. And thirdly, I hope the prince takes up the issue of the RTI and how all the political parties want to stay out of the RTI. I hope he comes and says this all is nonsense and it should be torn and thrown away. I'll be very glad.
Okay, well, the RTI, we're not hearing anything about the RTI right now, but we are hearing about the bill, that's actually a new development. No one expected that. The government cabinet also announced that the bill which was in front of the standing committee is also going to be withdrawn. So in addition to the ordinance, the bill also gets withdrawn. Let's just bring our second talking point up now, which of course we need the Congress to respond to as well, that what everyone is saying, has the Prime Minister and the cabinet, have they been undermined by the way the entire thing happened? We know that the Prime Minister came back from his trip and this entire thing actually unfolded while it was happening. The BJP, what does it think? Captain Abhimanyu, do you feel that the Prime Minister has been undermined? I know that you were asking for the Prime Minister to resign earlier.
Yes, Sunetra, not only the Prime Minister, the entire institution of cabinet. We work on a format of collective responsibility of the cabinet. Here, not only the cabinet then, the entire Congress party, all those ministers who were in support of the ordinance, and suddenly Mr. Rahul Gandhi appears and he does that one act play and everything turns. And we all saw the somersault that the Congress leadership has taken. So it is I would say that, and all the institutions of the parliamentary form of democracy today stands undermined. And as my friend from our party has pointed out, that the entire democracy today seems to be challenged by the monarchy setup. That is that we all have witnessed in Congress party for last so many years. It is just that one family and one person who's calling the shots.
Yes, and before
this whole thing is so comic.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to say how this is so comic that the entire cabinet goes for the ordinance.
No, but what's interesting,
and the Yuvraj says something and the whole cabinet now goes the other way without any change on facts.
I just want to interrupt and point out, as Sunil Prabhu also said, that people have moved on. Now they had other issues with the way there was no thinking done. That's what my colleague Sunil Prabhu has been reporting.
Absolutely.
And before we get the Congress to comment, I just want to take some audience comments, because obviously it's a young audience and they are the ones who were really affected by this ordinance. They felt the whole atmosphere of clean politics was here. Go ahead with what issues that you had.
Why is it that the Congress or the cabinet proposes a particular ordinance and then withdraws it on a particular blatant allegation made by a party vice president? Doesn't it undermine the power of the cabinet ministers or the council of ministers headed by the prime minister, which is sending a proposal to the parliament?
That still kind of lingers. Okay, what is the question that you had?
I just wanted to say two things. One, the timing when all of this is happening, and two, the procedure in which this has happened. The way you get a phone call and you come up to the stage and then you show an aggression which tries to focus that you care about the people, but the actual aspect that is that this voice has been from the people from a lot of time. So why when one person comes up it is heard, but when people were saying, it wasn't?
Okay.